I started playing a game that launched in early access last week called Dune Spice Wars.
Hey,
Have you seen this? Heard about this?
it's like StarCraft, right?
Yeah,
It's like
I
a
saw
strategy,
the
real-time
Game
strategy
Awards
game?
trailer.
Kinda. Okay,
Civ?
so it's
I know nothing about Dune though. Am I the only person on this show that knows literally nothing about Dune?
Probably.
Other than the stuff that like I hear people say, like
You know the least
You know.
about Dune.
Spice Mines of Castle, all that sort of stuff.
I mean, that's a Star Wars line, but
I knew that would get Josh. I knew I had to put that out there.
it's one of those like lines where people like to think that Star Wars ripped off Dune, and I have a video planned one day for why that's not the case. But
Okay, then Skyrim also did it.
But I will say, just randomly on this topic, I will say that the first time I read Dune, when I finished, I put it down and went, I would be fucking shocked if George Lucas had never either read this or was not like at least aware of its
In
existence.
some way influenced.
Because
Just because of like Tatooine and all that sort of
there's
stuff.
a lot of things that are like connected. Like there's scenes from like Return of the Jedi where you're like, this is legit the throne room scene, or like there's things where like there's just stuff like that, or like the spice mines, right? And like
I'll be legit.
But, yeah.
I'll be super honest. That past like 30 seconds of you talking has made me want to read Dune more than all the people being like, "Dude, you got Dune."
Brian, you would like it. I believe that.
I feel like you've said that before.
Yes. Okay. Let's back up here though. So Dune Spice Wars. It is a 4X strategy game, which I don't know if you've ever heard of like what that is, but the idea is that it's
Like Civ and stuff.
kind of. A lot of them are a lot more intense than Civ though, where you will have like economic graphs, and you will have like each system will have like its own culture, and you do all these like really political things. There's military things you have to focus on. There's a million things you have to focus on. The difference between this game, Spice Wars, and like other 4X games is that it is in real time, but and it's also cut back like significantly from a lot of those things. So it's kind of like playing Civ in real time. It's not turn-based where you would like do a thing and then click next turn and then like the wheel kind of kicks over, right? In this, it's like all happening in real time, and you have to manage like your spice stuff, and you have to manage your like troops on the ground, and like your spies who are in the other factions and doing things and stuff. But there is a pause button, which is really nice, because sometimes it'll be like, yo, your spice, like one of your spice harvesters is detecting a sandworm, so get it out of there or else it's going to get eaten. Also, there's a Fremen raid happening. Also, the Landsrats meeting, so you need to vote. And also, you're out of money. And it's like, they expect you to handle all this at once, but thankfully, there's a pause button, so you can pause and be like, okay, please, harvester, please leave like the area, and then you can be like, all right, here's all my Landsrat votes and like all this. And then you can hit play and it'll all continue. So that's, thank God, because I feel like this game will be fucking overwhelming sometimes, especially late game when there's like so many things happening. Like you have notifications show up.
Sorry to dip in real quick, but I was just thinking about this. This is an Epic exclusive on PC?
No, it's on
no?
Steam.
Okay.
It's in Steam Early Access.
I must have been thinking about something else.
So
Thank you.
in its early access form, it only has single player. It has multiple difficulties. There's no multiplayer yet. There's no like story mode, campaign, or anything. They mentioned that there could be bugs that you could run into. I played one full game, which was about, I want to say like 3 hours and I was playing at speed ×2 most of the time. It took about 3 hours of on and off play to finish that one game.
Can you save in the middle of a game?
Oh, yeah. You can save.
Okay.
Nice. Also, Rebecca June Lane in chat asked, Brian, did you not watch the film? I did not watch the 2021 Denis Villeneuve
Academy Award winning science fiction.
Although I do plan on watching it when at the latest when the sequel comes out.
Oh, okay.
my books are back there. Um, Honestly, that's fine. Just wait, because I've met people who like didn't know that, even though the title literally says Dune Part 1, that didn't know that like it was just gonna fucking end like right in the middle of the story. And they were like, "Well, wait a minute."
Yeah.
I'm like, "It's Part 1,
I
man."
know that
Like,
would really annoy me, so
yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
Um so the thing, like when I first got in the game, it reminded me a lot of the actual like Dune board game, which has a similar kind of thing where it's like control you're all trying to control Arrakis and you're all in it for yourself. So there's a lot of backstabbing and like doing shit behind each other's back, but like doing alliances, and like everybody has their own like special powers and things that they're really good at. This game kind of does that too, where each of the factions is really good at like something. Like for example, like if you're playing the Fremen, you don't have to own the territory in which like a Sietch, which is their cities, they're like underground cities. You don't have to own a territory in which a Sietch is placed to like be their friend basically and trade with them. It's because you're Fremen, you like know the land and shit, right? If you're the Atreides, like they're not as into like they're trying to be very honorable, so like you can take over cities by just like talking them into it. Basically, you can like highlight over a city, and instead of invading it and taking over, you can be like, "Yeah, you could come hang out, be part of the Atreides empire," basically, right? So you can do like stuff like that, and there's a bunch of other things you can get into. There's all the spec trees like you'd get in Civilization and all that stuff, and it's really cool. It leans very heavily, just like the board game, which I love and very much recommend, leans very heavily into the actual like Dune universe. It's not just like a skin. Because things like this can very easily be like, it's Civilization, but like we just threw, a Dune skin on it. And it's like, that's
Yeah.
not quite, doesn't quite do it, right? This very much takes advantage of like the world and the characters and kind of the stuff that happens like in the plots. Um, it's weirdly, I like the art style a lot, but it's weirdly it feels like it's has half of its foot in the book world and half of its foot in the movie world a little bit. But I would say it's more in the book. And the reason I say that is just because like a good example is Liet Kynes, who is like a really big character in the first book. In the original novel, they're just like a white dude. But in the movie, it's a black woman. And in this game, Liet Kynes is the leader of the Fremen, and it's a black woman. So like they've taken that thing from the movie and like put it into this, which I don't have an issue
That's
with.
cool.
And so there's a few things where it's like, okay, this was definitely inspired by the movie, or it was inspired by the fact that like whoever is handling the Dune license right now was like, hey, maybe do this, right? Um, all in all, I'm not usually a fan of like 4X games other than Civ, and even in Civ, I'm usually like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like I don't know if you've ever played Civ. It's always like, sir, do you want to build like libraries? Do you want to research like animal husbandry? And you're like, why not, man? And you just kind of click the buttons and just hope for the best, right?
Yeah.
In this, because the goal is very singular, it's like you want to have the most hegemony points, or however you say that word. I think it's hegemony. Hegemony, whatever. Points over. So you want to be the one who like basically is the de facto ruler of Arrakis.
Says the dude who said compost earlier.
Compost. You basically want to be recognized as the de facto ruler of Dune or Arrakis, right? So that everything you do is based around that. Every trade deal you make is based around like, well, I need spice and they need, water. So we'll trade, and then I'll use that to like pay my imperial tax, and then I won't have to deal with this and that. Or like I need to like change the exchange rate with Chom so I could get more money, right, to do things, which all sounds ridiculously crazy. But like this game, I think above more than any other 4X game I've ever played is like they really simplify everything down into ways that make it a lot more like readable. Even though at first, like if you just look at a screenshot, you'd be like, holy shit, there's like so much information. But because it kind of like when you turn on the tooltip like tutorial thing for the first time, it kind of drip feeds you stuff where it's like the first thing you do is you just like send your little ornithopter out to look for shit, like look for cities. And it's like, all right, cool. I know how to move a thing around now. And like it starts just drip feeding you all the mechanics. And then by the end, you're like a master of the domain. You're like, Landsrad votes, send the spies off to like do this, like put a ceasefire over here, like take over this village. Like you just start like doing all this stuff. Um, and it's very seamless and nice. And even though it's early access, didn't have a single bug the whole time. I might be unique, but I was looking at some of the Steam reviews, and the only thing I saw was somebody was like, had like a minor UI glitch in one game, but other than that, I haven't run into anything. So even though there's like a little warning,
Is it like competitive multiplayer, or is there a single player aspect?
it's only single player right now. There is going to be multiplayer. It's grayed out in the menu, but because it's early access, multiplayer is not in the game. I don't know about like a story mode or anything like that, but right now you can basically just play with bots, which I think is
So it's kind
fine.
of like Civ in that way, where there's like
Yeah,
not
I mean,
story,
Civ
it's
has-
just, you're just playing the game.
Yeah, and Civ has multiplayer also, but I bet that's intense. I don't think I would ever do that, but
No.
I would say it's really good for what it is right now, and it's the first like 4X game other than Civ where I've been like, this is like readable and I can actually manage this. And also knowing the source material helps a little bit because you're just like, when they say like Spacing Guild or like your exchange rate with Chom, you're like, oh, I know what that is. Right. So they kind of explain it, but you're like, I kind of know what the thing is. My one complaint is there's not enough factions. I think they need more factions with like special powers because in like Civ, there's so many nations and they keep adding more, right? There's like 20 different nations that you can be, and they all have some kind of special thing with them. And right now there's literally 4. You can be House Atreides, House Harkonnen, Smugglers, or the Fremen. And like that's not even all the factions in like the board game per se. Like in the board game, you have the Bene Gesserit, which I would say are one of the coolest things in Dune. You have the Emperor. You have there's people who've made like custom like Bene Tleilax and stuff. There's all these other factions in the world of Dune that I'm like, you could include these and have them in because right now it's like 4 doesn't quite feel like enough.
Doesn't feel like meaty enough. Do you know if they're planning to add more?
No idea. And also like they're like a lot of the books focus on like House Atreides and House Harkonnen, but there are other houses in the Imperium, like out in space. There's other like minor houses that are mentioned. Some of them by name, some of them they're just kind of lumped into like, yeah, there's other houses out there, right? Like vying for control. It's like you could put some of them in there. So I am hoping for more factions because there actually is a surprising amount of difference between each of them, and I just kind of want more. And also, I just really want Bene Gesserit in the game. There's like not enough Bene Gesserit presence, as far as I'm concerned. But
Means literally nothing to me, but I'll take
All
your
right,
word for it.
Representation
Brian.
matters, Josh.
imagine this. Imagine it's like the Jedi, except they're all women, and they all have these like psychic powers, and they're basically like space Illuminati. Like they just like tug the strings of everyone behind the scenes, like to bring about change on a like galactic scale over the course of centuries. Basically, they like do all this crazy shit. It's awesome.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Catch the Fever. Dune Spice Wars is pretty cool.
I almost said Nito Mosquito.
Nito Mosquito. Hold on.
No, we're not going back to this one. We already did that one in one episode. But yeah.
Rebecca June Lane asked Night Sisters ?
No,
Oh,
not like
Josh.
not like the Night Sisters. No. Night Sisters.
Although I do like the Night Sisters.
Night Sisters are super cool, but not like the Night Sisters. Very different. Very
For
very
those who are
different.
listening and don't know.
As
Yeah.
long as the spice keeps running through Mozesba,
Maharakish. Yeah.
everyone
I
will
thi-
be
I think
left alone.
I think if you like Dune and you like Civ, then you should pick this game up. It's pretty cool. I did.
I found Civ a little, because I tried. What was it? Civ 6? Which one did
Civ
they give out
6
free
is the latest one.
with Epic?
Yeah.
Yeah, they gave that out one free with Epic, which I was like, oh, this is cool. So I can actually jump in and try this, because like I've had people tell me that like, oh, if you like this, and this, like you probably like Civ.
It's addictive.
And so I tried it, and I played I was playing through one game. I think I had it on easy or something, and I was just getting my freaking shit pushed in. It was terrible.
It takes a long time to understand the mechanics of Civ. Like
And
if I
was,
played
like,
it now, I
trying-
wouldn't be able to.
I was trying to like be friends with everybody, like trying to make all these deals.
try.
And they're like, nah, dude.
You try,
can't.
but you
No.
can't. Like I always try. I'm always like, oh man, hey France, like you want to be like friends or whatever. And then all of a sudden, like somebody across the ocean's like, you're a piece of shit. I'm like, well, I don't even know you, man. Like,
Where did you come from?
like I actually had
yeah, the Mongols are like, hey man, you want to like? They're like beating the crap. They're like Zerg rushing me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, crap, I can't do anything. Okay, I got to set up walls. I got to fight these guys. I took out like all of their bases, and they had like 5 people left, and they're like, you want to be allies? And I'm like, you're dead. What are you doing here? But then everybody else is like, hey, while you were fighting these guys that were way more advanced than you, technologically and with superior
Culturally,
force and numbers
yeah.
and all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
we were advancing, and now we've built the 7 wonders of the world, and you're screwed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like I would literally on the back foot, and 90% of my people were dying in every assault.
Here's the thing about Civ. I don't think anyone really knows what they're doing when they play Civ. I have probably a good almost 100 hours in Civ 6. I don't know what I'm doing. I just am always like, I'm going to put this city here. Oh, it's near water. Time to make this a port city or whatever. And then just go with the flow. Which
at least in Guilty Gear, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a strike throw character.
Yeah.
I'm going to run up and punch you.
The other thing,
and then
though,
sometimes I'm going to grab you.
the other thing
Done.
though about Civ is that there are tons of win conditions in Civ, whereas
like.
in Dune there's like the one. Like you can there's other ways to win, but the ultimate goal is control Arrakis, and you do that by either killing everyone or just being the fucking best and like the richest person, who has like the best economy and who's like keeping everyone else out. But you bringing up like other factions being like assholes to you in Civ actually reminded me, like my favorite moment in the Dune Spice Wars game I played was I had this city that I had because I was playing House Atreides, so I didn't conquer them. I just brought them into the fold. So I had this city off in the outskirts, and the smuggler faction sends like all these dudes in to invade, and I'm like, you fucker, right? Because I haven't done anything to this guy. So I send like all my troops over and then beat him back, like barely beat him back. I'm like, okay, I'm like getting my militia back and stuff. Not like 10 minutes later does this dude send a trade request. He's like, hey, want to trade some like palisite for like spice or whatever? And I was like, fuck you, dude. Like you just tried to take my shit from me. Like, why would I trade with you at all? I just declined. Every time after that, I declined. I was like, get out of here. Get out of my face. Like,
You just attacked me.
yeah. He kept coming back. Like, that wasn't even the first one. Like, he would come back and be like, I got eight guys.
Hey, man.
I got 8 guys this time.
Sorry about earlier.
Like, I'm going to take this place. And I'm like, no, you ain't. No, you ain't. I did win that game ultimately, but
The fuck off my lawn.
get it. I got here. I'm harvested water over here. You can't have it. You go fuck off.
I'm a moisture farmer. I'm a land farmer, motherfucker.
But yeah, I think it's a cool game, and it's really for early access. Surprisingly, like feels really polished and like ready to go. But I would be.
That's like Hades early access.
Yeah, I'm
It's just like, it's not all done. Like, it's only like a fourth of the game, but like what is there feels great.
my one thing I'm curious about though is like how multiplayer is going to feel with the lack of a pause button. Like, will it just be complete chaos like at all times, right? Or will there be ways to pause and stuff and do like lands rad votes in not real time and like other things in not real time? Because like sometimes you'll literally be in a menu and you're like, okay, I'm going to vote on like, I want House Harkonnen to pay more for this. So I'm like putting in my votes, or whatever. But then you'll hear like, or something, and you look up and it's like sandworm is coming, and you're like, fuck. So you're like trying to do shit. I
Well,
wonder how
maybe
that's
it'll
gonna
be
be in
like
multiplayer,
maybe it'll be like Among Us voting.
where it just
Where, like,
pauses the game.
A thing
I mean,
just,
it would
a
be
thing,
nice.
It just everything else stops and it just pops up and like
Yeah.
everybody interacts with that, and then it resumes.
The way it works now is like like I think it's every week they do the Landsrad meeting, which in Dune is like all of the Fremen tribes and all the houses like come together, and it's like a government of sorts. But the idea is like all these things pop, like these treaties or these things pop up, and some of them will be like, hey, if this vote passes, then House Atreides will get 30% more Solari upkeep production. So like it'll be cheaper to keep your upkeep on stuff. But then there's other ones that are like whoever, like you can like elect a faction to pay more for water, or they get less water or something, right? So then you can, like, if you have enough influence, and like if you build up enough influence in the Landsrad, you can be like,
somebody.
you can be like, hey smugglers, remember when you tried to invade me? Now you have to pay double the price for water because I like just shoved all my votes through, to mess with you. And it's like really cool. But like the way it works is it pops up, and then you have time to, like, you can go do other stuff. And then when you vote, it's not like vote, click a button, and then it does whatever it does. You put your votes in and you close the window, and there's a timer kind of just happening in the background. And then when the timer clicks over whatever votes you had in there, it just counts. And then it counts whatever the AI was going to vote for.
So it's like actual voting.
Yeah, basically. It's like you have a deadline to vote on this, is basically the idea. And if you don't vote, then you didn't vote, and you might actually get screwed over. Like you might be the one paying double for water, right? But yeah, I would say keep an eye on it.
You might be the one.
And
Washington D.C. on January 6th.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
Fuck. Anyway, I would say Dune. Catch the fever if you're a fan of Dune. You're a fan of games like Civ. It's pretty cool. And I didn't run into really any problems, but I am sort of wanting more Dune stuff
content
in it. Yeah. Like,
Well, hopefully it'll expand since it's still in early access.
I hope so, because it's cool. It's a cool little game.